most gracious Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this day. We just thank you for everything you do for us. And Lord, we know you can handle this virus and you don't need our help, but we all try to help. And we just ask that you take care of us and just bless each person that's here. And we just thank you for your son, Jesus. And we ask these things in thy name. Amen.
Amen. Remain standing, we'll say pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Not afraid of him,
No, it's John's closing up our space here.
It's not a cough, it's just clearing my throat.
I was fixing to ask, but I better not.
All right. Let's go ahead and call, I want to go ahead and call this special council meeting to order. And Lizzie, would you go ahead and call the roll?
Yes, sir. Myrtle.
Here.
Eugene.
Here.
Mayor Sal.
Here.
Brenda. Here. John.
Here.
Steve.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome to this special meeting. I appreciate everybody showing up on very short notice, but due to the ongoing COVID-19 crisis, there's a couple of things that we need to address. I have a resolution that I want to present to the council. Everybody's got a copy of it, and we'll go over that in just a minute. But for the record, the governor of the state of Alabama has issued a proclamation, whereas on March 13th, 2020, had declared the existence of a state public health emergency based on the appearance of the 2019 novel coronavirus known as COVID-19 in the state of Alabama, whereas the initial proclamation included provisions designed to assist in preventing the spread of COVID-19 and in mitigating the consequences of COVID-19. Whereas on March 16th, President Donald J. Trump and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued the 15 days to slow the spread guidance advising individuals to adopt far-reaching social distancing measures such as working from home and avoiding gatherings of more than 10 people. And whereas new implications of COVID-19 came to light on a continual basis, requiring flexibility and adaptability at all levels of government within the state of Alabama. Now, therefore, I, Kay Ivey, Governor of the state of Alabama, pursuant to the relevant provisions of the Alabama Emergency Management Act of 1955, as amended, Alabama Code 31-9-1, do hereby proclaim the existence of a condition that warrant implementation of additional extraordinary measures and relief during the state health emergency now in effect in order to guard public health and protect human life. I therefore proclaim and direct all of the following. 1. Rescheduling the March 31st, 2020 primary runoff election. I find that conducting the primary runoff election currently scheduled for March 31st, 2020 poses a serious public health threat because there is not enough time before then to implement best practices for safety conducting an election under conditions related to the COVID-19. To that end, the primary runoff election scheduled for March 31st, 2020 is hereby rescheduled to July 14th, 2020. Nothing in this section shall be construed to alter, amend, or modify any other provision of state law regarding the conduct of the primary runoff election. The Secretary of State and appropriate election officials shall take all reasonable efforts to publicize voter registration, absentee voting opportunities. The Secretary of State shall amend his administrative calendar to reflect the rescheduled primary runoff date and provide a copy to all appropriate election officials via certified mail and email. The Secretary of State shall also provide an amended copy of the Alabama Fair Campaign Practices Act, filing calendar to all candidates and committees participating in the rescheduled primary election. 2. School closures. The supplemental proclamation shall ratify my previous order issued orally on March 13th, 2020, requiring the closure of all K through 12 public schools at the end of the day, Wednesday, March 18th, 2020, with reopening scheduled for the start of school on Monday, April 6, 2020, should circumstances permit. Nothing in this section shall supersede any decisions or orders issued prior to the date of the supplemental proclamation that require schools closures to a greater extent than required by this section. The State Superintendent of Education and the State Health Officer shall consult with one another on a continuing basis and provide recommendations to me as warranted regarding the opening or closure of schools in response to COVID-19. 3. Open Meetings Act. I find that the government response to COVID-19 requires a careful balance between concerns for public health and safety, including the effectiveness of COVID-19 mitigation strategies for the continued operation of governmental bodies and for the right of the public to the open conduct of government. To that end, notwithstanding any provision of the Open Meetings Act, members of a governmental body may participate in a meeting and establish a quorum, deliberate, and take actions by means of telephone conference, video conference, or other similar communications equipment if any deliberation is conducted or actions taken during the meeting is limited to matters within the governmental body's statutory authority, that is a necessary to respond to COVID-19 or a necessity to perform essential minimum functions of the governmental body. And 2, the communications equipment allows all persons participating in the meeting to hear one another at the same time. All right, B, governmental bodies conducting a meeting pursuant to this section are encouraged to the maximum extent possible to use communication equipment that allows members of the public to listen to, observe, or participate in the meeting. C, no less than 12 hours following the conclusion of a meeting conducted pursuant to this section, a governmental body shall post a summary of the meeting in a prominent location on its website, or if it has no website, in any other locations or using any other method designed to provide reasonable notice to the public. The summary shall recount the deliberations conducted and the actions taken with reasonable specificity to allow the public to understand what happened. D, nothing in this section shall be construed to alter, amend, or modify any other provision of the Open Meetings Act, including the notice requirements found in sections 36-25A-3, and the enforcement, penalty, and remedy provisions found in sections 36-25A-9. Any actions or actions taken in violation of paragraph A will be deemed invalid. To the maximum extent possible, the terms used in this section shall have the same meaning as the terms defined in sections 36-25A-2 of the Open Meetings Act. Section 4, procurement of emergency-related supplies. I find that state agencies and local awarding authorities may be required to procure goods or services to properly and adequately respond to the public health threat posed by COVID-19. Therefore, my emergency proclamation dated March 13, 2020 shall satisfy the notice and writing requirements of the emergency provisions found in section 41-16-23 and 41-16-53 of the competitive bid law. I hereby authorize the state agencies and local awarding authorities to enter into contracts for goods and services without public advertisement to the extent necessary to respond to COVID-19. State agencies and local awarding authorities shall maintain accurate and fully itemized records of all expenditures made pursuant to this section. And section 5, reimbursement for certain state employees. I proclaim that it is fair, reasonable, and appropriate that those state of Alabama employees who are required to perform response services away from their home base of operation be reimbursed for the actual expenses they incur while performing these services on behalf of the state of Alabama. I therefore authorize the reimbursement of actual and necessary expenses as prescribed by the Fiscal Policies and Procedures Manual for state employees who have been or being or may be called away from their home base in response to this state of emergency. All such claims for employee reimbursement must be reasonable and must be certified as such by the employee's agency head or appointing authority. Furthermore, to the extent of a provision of this supplemental proclamation conflicts with any provision of state law, such law is hereby suspended for the duration of the state of emergency, and this proclamation shall control. Further, I declare that this proclamation and all subsequent orders, laws, rules, or regulations issued pursuant hereto shall remain in full force and effect for the duration of the public health emergency unless rescinded or extended by proclamation. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the great seal to be affixed with the Secretary of State, Capitol in the city of Montgomery on 18th day of March 2020. That is the entirety of the emergency proclamation by the governor. Okay, any questions or comments on that? I needed to, the main reason I wanted to read it was for the second section, but for completeness, I needed to read the whole thing. All right. Now the special meeting was called to address this COVID-19 state of emergency, along with the state and the country have all both declared a state of emergency. By doing so, it streamlines a lot of access to help and funds to address the COVID-19 emergency. So the town of County Line, resolution number 2020-002, a resolution declaring a townwide state of emergency approving and authorizing necessary budget amendments and necessary emergency actions regarding COVID-19. Whereas the World Health Organization has designated the circumstances surrounding COVID-19 as a pandemic, and whereas the President of the United States, via Sections 201 and 301 of the National Emergencies Act, has declared the circumstances surrounding COVID-19 to be a national emergency, and whereas the Governor of the State of Alabama has declared a state of emergency for the state of Alabama in regard to COVID-19 pursuant to Alabama Code 31-9-1, and whereas the general intent of state law is to provide for the rendering of mutual aid among the political subdivisions of the state and with other states and with the federal government with respect to carrying out of emergency management functions, and whereas Section 31-9-10 sets forth without limits various authorities of municipalities in the event that the council determines that any of the conditions described in Section 31-9-2A have occurred or is imminently likely to occur. And whereas the town is continuously preparing for and reacting to the pandemic in order to ensure that our first responders and other town staffers are fully aware and equipped to assist town citizens and the general public in this time of healthcare emergency. And whereas in times of emergency, it is prudent of the town council to assess the circumstances and to formally declare the situation at hand to be an actual emergency as defined by state law if necessary, and whereas provisions were not made in the current budget at the time of its adoption in order to address the unexpected issues, the town council would have to authorize the necessary budget amendments in general terms in order to react to unforeseen events. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the town council of the town of County Line that 1. Recital above, I'm not sure how to pronounce that word. Recital. Okay, the recitals above are true and correct, and included herein as if fully set forth. 2. The COVID outbreak is an emergency of an unprecedented magnitude likely resulting from natural causes, and in order to ensure that the preparations of this town will be adequate to deal with such emergency and generally to protect public peace, health, and safety, and to preserve the lives and property of the people of the town. The situation and its resulting effects is hereby found and declared to be a public health emergency and an overall dangerous situation for all citizens, which affects both their health and their overall well-being. 3. The town council furthermore determines that this state of emergency requires that the town officials and staff be provided with the utmost flexibility in cooperating with federal, state, and local entities to the maximum extent as provided by and in accordance with applicable law. As town staff, subsequent to coordination with the mayor, is directed to take whatever actions necessary to ensure that proper safety, security, and protection of the town staff, town facilities, and the general public, and the town's public funds in accordance with state and federal law. 5. In the event necessary, the formalities of the state bid law are hereby waived due to the emergency nature of the pandemic and the related circumstances until such time as the emergency declaration is withdrawn. 6, subject to prior approval by the mayor, unbudgeted emergency expenditures are hereby approved. 7, staff shall maintain a thorough list of related expenses to ensure proper physical management related hereto and to ensure any available federal and or state reimbursements are fully requested and accounted. 8, the mayor and staff shall have the full authority to do these things, perform these functions, make such decisions, and assign necessary documentation in order to carry out and fully complete the actions so authorized herein. Adopted approved on this 19th day of March 2020. Any questions or comments? Okay.
So in reading all that, if, our emergency people would be our fire department.
Yeah.
If they needed help, we could help them, right?
That's correct.
Provide help.
That's the way I read it, yes. Since we semi-support them anyway, I think under these circumstances, this is one of those actions that we can take. I haven't been in touch with Chief Miller yet, but I do plan on contacting him if we pass, once this resolution is enacted.
That's when the state's giving you authority to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they need something, we can provide
We can help them,
to the state, right?
right? We can, if necessary, we can provide them the funds and then request the funds reimbursement from the state and or federal agencies.
Well, I would imagine they need some protective equipment going on scenes to people. And I'm talking about the mask and
Right.
gloves and.
Well, I understand, the mayor, Blount County mayors had a meeting night before last, and that's what this was generated from. Something that, they were suggesting to everybody do, just to streamline things. But they were mentioning about, first responders, generally go in a pair, and how they're approaching it right now is only one of them goes into the actual scene, the other remains backline and provides whatever supplies they may need. So only one of them will be exposed at any one time. So they're thinking about those measures. I don't know what else they're doing, but I know that they're certainly they've already been looking at that. Okay? But yes, still, I believe that if Chief Feller needs something we can help him out with, we'll help him out.
Do you want to talk to him about that, about what we can do for him? Or
Well, I'm gonna call him and just say, see if he needs anything first, and tell him that
we can do?
if he does need something, let us know, and we will certainly see what we can do to expedite it. Yeah.
Probably wouldn't hurt to find out a dollar amount of what he's gonna have to buy.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
he'll know more about it than we will.
yeah, he'll know what he needs, and he'll probably already have an idea of what it's gonna cost. But I will, like I said, I plan on contacting him if the council approves the resolution, and see if there is anything he needs now.
I make a motion, we approve.
Right. We have a motion to accept as read.
I'll second it.
All right. Eugene made the motion.
Okay.
And Myrtle seconded.
Except as read.
I'm sorry.
He made the motion to accept it as read.
Yes, Jean made the motion, accept as read, and,
Myrtle.
Myrtle did second it. All right, all in favor? All right, it is unanimous, the resolution has been passed. So I will sign, what I'll do, is I'll go ahead and sign 2 copies, and, we can file these,
I have
we
one
need to file
copy.
these both with, Jefferson and Blount County.
File this,
Yeah.
okay. Now this is one that I will sign and then notarize and seal, okay? So I have to mark, I see that you've done something differently on this, Mr. Mayor. You've got, the yeses and the nays. And the abstains. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses.
The mayor voted too, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, 6, okay,
Okay,
6 of
good.
them,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 6. Okay. This is just a file copy.
Are you calling me? That's just Trish from last week.
You better cash that.
All right, that's all I had on my agenda. Council have anything?
No, sir.
I'll make a motion.
I'm wondering when Papa Bear's gonna mow our grass.
Oh.
Today,
Can I said,
here yesterday morning.
I talked to him yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and he was outside with the kid, and he said he had his paperwork filled out to get his license. And he said, I know I need to cut the grass. He said, I don't know if I can go ahead and go up there and cut it without my license, and it'd be okay. I says, yeah, go ahead and cut it.
Well, he cut it,
Did he?
he did. I seen him and his, uncle or brother,
Out
or
here?
Betty or something.
Out here,
Yeah, out
Okay.
there in that field right there.
he cut it yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay,
Wasn't it yesterday evening after
think it
they
was.
picked the kids up? It
okay.
was late.
It was after,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
I didn't pay attention when I came up.
I didn't either when we came down.
Okay. All right, we got a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, Brenda made the motion to adjourn.
Brenda made the motion to adjourn, okay.
And, John made, seconded. All right, all in favor? All right, unanimous. This, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for coming on short notice.